Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having a good day. Happy Friday. It's always an exciting day to be around, especially if you're working. So it looked like my video yesterday was not choppy. It was nice and smooth. I took a quick watch on it yesterday, but it looks like it's back to being choppy again today. So I'm gonna have new phones by next week, which will be great. Looking forward to that. I mentioned a few things to everybody that we had our scout ball. And Scott, I'm going to message you again today, and Jill, wants to be there tomorrow at Chestnut Ridge to do that dance party. I'm down with just doing it with just us. So I've got football in the morning. I'm not sure exactly what time my games are, but I'm going to be over there. I think Scott was hoping to do it at noon, but we weren't really getting a whole lot of feedback. So I think he was a little bit worried about numbers, which is understandable. But we're still planning on doing that, which would be tomorrow. And it's more just for fun, more just for everybody to get together and have a good time. And then we got Monday. Monday we have the protest down in Albany. And down in Albany, essentially what that is, it's a protest of everything. It's a protest against Cuomo. It's a protest against the lockdown. It's a protest against the seizure of all our rights. Is basically what it is. You know, that's August 3rd. We're meeting. We met at a church. I know all the details. I shared them yesterday. I'm going to share them again today, probably Saturday and Sunday as well, just so you guys know where to go. I'm not going to give the information right now, but I did share it on my page yesterday, and I'll share it again today. We're leaving on Sunday, some of us, Sunday evening, and then we'll stay overnight till Monday morning, and then we'll return. We'll protest, and then we'll return Monday. The idea is that we'll have politicians in the area, and then politicians can hear and see our concerns that are happening. Just a couple of thoughts. Cuomo, everybody thinks that, we know Cuomo's, he's a criminal. We know how he's behaved. We know what he's done to people, over the course of the past 10, 11 years. We know what his father did. And when his father was in office, before Pataki took office. And, Mario was just as bad as Andrew. And that guy destroyed the state. Like when you looked around the state and you looked at New York City and you looked at what happened and how we are the economic center of the universe, and New York State should look beautiful, gorgeous. Our taxes should be the lowest there are. I've said that time and time again. How do you have the economic center of the world here in our backyard? All these businesses and these financial transactions and all these banks, and we have also the highest taxed. We're the highest taxed state next to California by far. And we're not getting any additional services here in this state. We're not. Our services are exactly the same as anywhere else. The argument used to be that we were getting a better education, for schools. Our schools were educating our children better. Well, that's not true anymore. We're like 50th. We fell down. I mean, it's our country went from number one. Good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Patty. We went down from, we were number one in New York State before Andrew Cuomo took over, which hard to believe that we were. Now we're number 50 in nearly every category. The United States was number one, and I think now we're number 27. And here in New York State, Mario Cuomo was a huge part of that. And every other governor and individual that was a part of New York politics, that all their interest is to just keep expanding government over and over and over again. They want more rules. They want more regulation. They want more government agencies. They want higher pay. They want more handouts. And that equates to huge and massive losses to our friends and family leaving, going to other areas of the country because they can't deal with it. Who could? How can you? You know, I have a friend that moved into the area. He's an anesthesiologist. He came from Chicago, which Illinois isn't much better. I mean, Illinois is up there. Michigan's up there as well. Got to be making $800,000. He made a decision to come to New York. His soon-to-be wife is from Syracuse. So he had an opportunity here in the Buffalo area, a new practice opening up. And he's going to be making $800,000. But look at what he's going to have to do and pay for that. He's going to literally have to pay half of that right off the top between federal and state taxes. He's going to be paying half. Patty had 4 of her 5 kids leave. They're gone. They're not coming back. And that story is replicated over and over and over again. These people like Andrew Cuomo, they stole. Don't lose sight of that. They stole our families from us. They stole our friends from us. They are stealing our money from us every single day. The taxes here in Cheektowaga on the property that I have are about $7,000. Property was assessed at $135,000. That's what I bought it for. They arbitrarily and autonomously raised those taxes up to about $182,000, which was going to increase my tax bill up to about $9,000. Then I challenged it, and they brought it back down to the $135,000. And that just didn't happen to me. That happened all across the town here, you know. So getting back to my friend that came into the area, he's going to get $400,000 on that $800,000 that he's making. Then add to that all of the additional taxes, you know, the high fuel cost, the high utility cost, all the stuff that he's got to pay for. And then when they buy a house, right now they have an apartment, but when they buy a house, imagine what the property taxes are going to be on that. So the guy has an $800,000 job, decided to move to New York, and he is only going to probably see about $300,000 of that money. That's Andrew Cuomo. That's Mario Cuomo. That's every other politician that we have had in this state that all they know crime. They know mafia. They know mob tactics. That's what they do. And I've said that forever. You know, they weaponize their agencies against us, which they do against businesses and individuals. And the tax base, the taxes are just insane. Could have moved to Florida, my buddy, and gotten a job down there. No state taxes. He would have saved himself a ton of money. You know, everybody's like, well, you know, we get all these services in great schools. No, we don't. And the teachers aren't even teaching anymore. Good morning, Lisa. And the teachers, now they're not even allowed to go to school, and they don't want to go back to school. And admittedly, every single one of them were only teaching about an hour or two every day. Our taxes never went down, and they're not going to go down. You know, it's crippling. It's stifling. And, you know, our families have left. Andrew Cuomo just is taking more and more and more. It wasn't enough to just make it impossible for nearly every business owner. When you do the math, I tell people to do the math. Do the math and take a look at how much you pay in taxes, then divide that into your overall salary there and see what that number is, you know. So if you're making $80,000, you're paying $40,000 in taxes. That's all you're left, guys, $40,000. And then take a look at it, at looking at a year, and equate that to how much time you are giving to the state. That's 6 months' time. Every one of us is giving between 5 and 6 months' time. They're stealing that from us every year. And it's worse for a small business owner, because now you have all of the licenses, you have all of the insurances, you have even more taxes on you getting double taxed. So for a small business owner, you may be paying taxes until September in all of the mandates that they have on us. And we sat back and we took it decade after decade, year after year after year after year. Can we get it back in New York State? I don't know. I would like to think that we can. But I just read another friend of mine leaving today on the page. He's gone. You know, and the numbers that they said left during this pandemic at about the 3-month mark were about 500,000 people. I don't know how many people have left now permanently, and they're gone. And Cuomo doesn't care. We all hate Cuomo, but it's not just Cuomo. You know, we got to take a look at the establishment, Wall Street, and all of these big banks that are centralized and housed here. Like, why aren't all our roads paved in gold? Like, literally all we have, all the towns have to do, all they're tasked with are the highways. That's it. Every other thing that they have created and concocted to have us pay, to force us to pay, the water, the sewer, the police departments, the fire departments. When you take a look into how each one of those agencies are funded and how they could be funded and how they are funded in other areas, you're going to look and go, wow, why does it cost so much? You know, me in Orchard Park, I think I have like 5 or 6 sewage district lines that I pay for. I have a water bill, but I have another water bill or water lines on my tax bill. How and why is that? Because these people have figured out how to extort every single thing that anybody else in the country has done. And every liberal stronghold models themselves after New York when it comes to taxes and stealing from us. You know, these people, I had a conversation with the assessor in Orchard Park, complete and total communist, Nazi, because he was stealing from my friends. He was increasing their tax bills and their appraisals arbitrarily. It's like, you increase people's appraisals, but what services are you giving people? How much more in services are you giving people? What are you doing extra for them for the increase in the appraisal? You're getting more money out of it. But which positions are you creating? If you had 100% of what you needed this year, how much more do you need to increase your income, which is what it is, to support all these other positions this next year? Probably not that much, and it shouldn't be. But they're increasing people's appraisals, like in the city, by 2 and 3 times. I have a friend that owns properties down there. He gets his increases, talks to the assessors, it's the same thing. Arbitrarily and capricious. There's no justification for it. And to challenge it, you have a very narrow window, which is by design. And they are just raping us over and over and over again. Well, Pete, what do we do? Just like I always say, guys, group together, collect. The proof is on transit yesterday, they had a Black Lives Matter protest. And no Amherst Police Department, safest community in the country, right? Voted all the time. Safest community in the country. And I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened. I just heard secondhand from Teresa. But Teresa was saying that it was unruly. And there were some things going on. Now, when we were protesting with our elderly men, our elderly women, our mothers, our kids, they left us alone when we were in Amherst, admittedly. But when we were in other areas, they had officers on rooftops with guns. And I get that. I do. I understand that they need to make sure. But at these Black Lives Matter protests, just like yesterday, no police were around. And they were threatening people. Or allegedly. I don't know if that happened. I didn't hear it. That's secondhand information. So, where were they? to help the people and protect the people. So, my point is here that you can affect locally. You can affect what happens locally. Just have to get a handful of people together, guys. That's what you have to do. Black Lives Matter, if anything, proved how dysfunctional government is. It proves how scared government and police agencies are, and that they don't want to get hurt. These are my friends and these are my family, but if we stand together and we unite, we can take this back. There aren't that many people in these positions when you think about it. Here in Cheektowaga, I don't know how many officers they have employed as a whole. It might be 100. It may be a little bit more. How many people does the town assessor's office have? How many people does the town inspector's office have? How many people does, the tax collection office or the courts have? The only vehicle and mechanism they have to use against us are police and law enforcement. And the police and law enforcement aren't going up against Black Lives Matter. Antifa hasn't been here, thankfully. They were, but they haven't gotten a stronghold. A little bit, when they were inciting the violence and the riots down in the city, the couple of different times that happened. But law enforcement they don't want to get involved with it. They want to go home and be safe. There are ways where we can stand up to these towns and we can take it back. There are ways where we can stand up to the county and take it back. I don't know about you, but I hate the fact that I've had so many friends leave. I hate the fact that I've had so many family members leave. I hate the fact that I have to work till the end of June or longer for free. Who wants to do that? In Cheektowaga here, my taxes are almost $8,000. In Alma, right down the street, they have no garbage. They have no police department. Most of the places have, they'll have Erie County water or they'll have their own well water. No sewage. The highway department is minimal, if anything. And I hear reports all the time that Alma's burning to the ground. I know that it's very unsafe out there. I know that, the cows are overrunning everybody and that, it's just unruly and chaos every day. It's just a hellhole, Alma. No, it's not. Right? Alma's like one of the most beautiful places to live in Erie County. And the taxes are so low. And you go, well, Pete, Alma's different. Well, his population is just about the same as a lot of other areas. Is it the same as Cheektowaga? No. Cheektowaga is a different story. A lot of these other townships are different stories. But Clarence isn't. Clarence is very similar to, Alma. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But look at Clarence's tax rolls and tax base as opposed to Alma. Alma, it provides all the same stuff. I'm going to sneeze here. Maybe I'm not. It provides all the same stuff. I didn't. I was able to hold it off. That was masterful. But, Alma, beautiful. So many people have moved to Alma over the decades because they do it the right way. They're like, we don't need a law enforcement. We don't need, and they're very conservative views, very conservative morals, very conservatively virtued. And they've got people in place that are holding the line and saying, no, this is ridiculous. Taxes don't need to be that high. So when people say taxes need to be high, Pete, we got to pay for these things. No, we don't. You literally created a town assessor's department in order to support the town assessor's department. You created an inspection department to support the assessor's department. Do you need fire department? Yes. Do you need local law enforcement? I don't know. Can it be accomplished with county and state? They do it in other states. They do it in other towns in this county. They do it in other counties across this state. So you have to take a look at what's strangling and just get it down. It's easy. It's simple, guys. And they want us to think it's complicated. They want us to think that it's so big that it can't be tore down. But it's not. And Black Lives Matter protests have proved that. if we just come together and we demand and insist that these agencies do it differently, do it better, these towns do it differently, do it better. Well, Pete, how do we do that? Assessor's office is gone, guys. They're all gone. Every single assessor's office is gone. You know why? Because what are we taxed on? You know, I talk to the individuals in these assessor's offices, and I talk to the individuals that are the private companies that are, you know, conducting the work with the reappraisals, because now the town assessor's office, they can't even do their own appraisal, their reappraisals. They're coming out and they're hiring a company to do that at the taxpayer's expense. So all the town assessor's office is gone. You know how you take care of it? Because each one of them say, everyone pays for services rendered. What are those services that are rendered by the town? Well, yeah, let's see. We got police, fire department. My stepbrother's in the fire department, and I know a lot of other people that are in fire departments. They go, their call volume is way down. Traffic patterns have been fixed. Their call volumes are way down. You know, responding to, you know, fires, almost non-existent. Are they responding to, you know, elderly and some different things like that with the ambulance? Absolutely. You know, but that could be accomplished a different way as well. You know, the amount of money that each one of these volunteer fire companies gets per year that they're contracted with never goes down. It stays the same. Why do you think all of these new facilities, these new Taj Mahals are being, you know, built in every town? Because they have to use the money, because they're not applying the money towards anything else. You know, and I have a lot of friends that I respect that are in the volunteer fire departments, and they have done an amazing job, and we need them. You know, but there's a balance, and there's a lot of restrictions that are put on them. So I'm not want to bag on volunteer fire departments. It's not their fault. The volunteer firefighters are doing their job, you know. So town assessor's offices are gone, because what you do is now, like they said, everything is on services rendered. Well, if I have a $500,000 home, or if I have a $100,000 home, guess what? My garbage is going to be the same, because that's a part of it, right? Garbage pickup, which is also privatized in most places, or a lot of places, and most people pay for their own garbage. But the towns say, we're going to have a handle on it, and we're going to do this, and we're going to... So they create ways and vehicles to substantiate their jobs, to justify their jobs. You know, then they come out and they say, well, we've got law enforcement. Okay, well, I get that, you know, so let's fund the law enforcement. But let's figure out if there's a better, more efficient way to do it. And these towns don't want to do that, but we can force them to do that. So the assessors will then say, well, highway department. Oh, really? Because the highways are shot. Nobody is fixing anything. When's the last time you saw a Cheektowaga highway department crew out there working on anything? They're not, especially now with the pandemic. Everybody is sitting at home. These guys, these highway department guys, the look around, the parks department guys. What are they doing? The very basics, only the necessities and the absolutes. Drive around or Cheektowaga, they're mowing the lawn like once every 2 or 3 weeks. You know, it's getting super high everywhere. Highway departments don't do anything. And I have a plan for highway departments as well. So the assessor's office, gone, because every single home should be taxed at the same exact rate, because it's for services rendered by their own admission. That's it. It's as simple as that. So now you're cutting taxes because you just got rid of the assessor's department. And you're also eliminating all the challenges. You're eliminating all the lawsuits that the town taxpayers and the state taxpayers and the county taxpayers have to pay. Every time somebody challenges one of those assessments and reappraisals, we're paying for it. Now it's gone. Everybody pays exactly the same. They're gone. Inspections offices are the next thing. Oh, you know, we'll get back to what the tasks are of each town, but inspection offices are the same thing. Gone. They're unnecessary, completely unneeded. Did you know that these inspection offices aren't trained? They don't need any training. The people that they hire are usually friends, usually family. They get paid a good amount of money in each one of these offices. Not all of them are corrupt, but I have had these inspection officers come up to me and ask for money. Well, you'll get this approved if you give me this. You'll get this approved if you do this. That's in every inspection office, guys. Every single one of them. And these inspectors don't have to be trained. No training at all. In order to be a home inspector, you have to go through this whole class. I don't even know how long it is. I haven't done it, but I have some friends that have, some family members that have. But you're required by New York State to do that. But if you're in the inspector's office in a town, you're not required to do that. And if you're going to have the plumbing inspected, you got to pay for a plumber to come out and inspect it. So you paid $200 for the inspection or the permit to do the work, but the inspector's office isn't coming out and doing that. You got to pay for a plumber to come out and inspect it. Electrical, you got a new build or you did some work on it, whatever it is, and you put in a new panel, you had to go pay for the permit, then you had to go pay the electrician to come in, who's certified by the town, who has to pay the town to be certified to come in and do the inspection. Why not have people that are trained and that can handle those positions? But nobody asks those questions, guys. This is where I'm saying we need to take it back. We're being distracted by all these other things nationally, on a state level. We need to be focused in locally together, taking this back. So Pete, how do we have inspectors? We got to make sure our homes are safe. We got to make sure, when people are doing projects, they're just not doing whatever they want to do. Well, look at it this way. I had a conversation last night with Patty, and we're talking about how crippling it is to individuals. You think about how many times you've thought about doing something to your house. You think about how many times you're like, yeah, I would like to do this, or I would like to do that. But then you're like, oh shit, I got the inspection office I got to deal with. I don't want to deal with that. And then I'm going to get reassessed. And I don't want to get reassessed because my tax is already high enough. So many people. So what that does is that cripples the country. That cripples this area. Because think about all the people that would be spending their money doing improvements on their home that don't do them because of those reasons. I don't know what the percentage is. I see it all the time. I've experienced it myself. I don't want to work on my house or put an addition on because I don't want to get reassessed. That should never, ever, ever, ever be a case. If you make your house nicer, you're going to be penalized punitively for making your house nicer. You want to know why our neighborhoods all look the way they have for the past 40, 50, 60 years for the most part? That's why. Because nobody wants to put the money into it. Oh, we'll keep it up, we'll make it nice. But nobody wants to put the money in to do anything extra. Just imagine what our towns and our communities would look like if we weren't worried about the punitive damages that were going to be imposed upon us by government. That you could fix your house and make it the way you wanted without having to worry about without having to worry about increasing taxes. Because if you do, even just painting, inspectors can do drive-bys, and if they think your house looks nicer, that's a reason to increase your taxes. So, getting back to the inspector's offices. How do you handle inspector's offices, Pete? How do you do that? Super easy. What do we all have to have with our homes? We all have to have insurance, right? Now, the insurance company doesn't want their home. They don't want their investment that they have their money in. They don't want that burning down, right? They want it to be safe. So you remove all of the inspection responsibilities and you put it over to insurance companies. And what the insurance companies can do is they have their individuals, they come out who will be experts. I guarantee you in the private industry, they will be experts and they will know what to do. And you take and you put the insurance companies in charge. Well, Pete, the insurance companies can abuse it. How are they going to abuse it? Go to a different insurance company. If you've got somebody that's doing a bad job, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of other choices to insure your home. And now the insurance companies take over. So now you've just eliminated the inspection office and you've eliminated the assessor's office. How tough would that be to do, guys? They're defunding police departments, and they think that that's okay. And do that need to be overhauled, police officers and agencies? Absolutely. You guys have heard me talk about that. It's been a huge passion of mine for a long time. But with these local towns, we can affect this stuff immediately and instantly and make these changes, guys. Everybody's like, it takes too long. All the different conversations I've had with people, it takes too long for that to happen. Clearly not, because they're like instantly ready to fund all these other places. You want to know what we can do? We do that, guys. We make those changes. We insist and demand those changes. And we don't give up, because that was one of the things that I spoke about before, is how is it that the Dems and Libs are able to accomplish everything that they're able to accomplish? Because they stay focused. They're like rabid dogs. Trump grabbed this. Ukraine, Russia. They stay on it incessantly. One thing. They focus in on one thing, and they stay on that with a tenacity and a veracity, if that's even a word, that they're just voracious with it. And they glom onto it, and they don't let go. They just don't let go until they get the change. We need to be the same way to take this thing back. If now we get these small governments, if we get this back from our small governments, then guess what? We could take our small government back. We can get that back. And then we could get the county back. And then when we get the county back and the counties back, then we can be strong and say our businesses aren't shutting down. Show us the science. Show us the science that proves what you're maintaining. And I don't want to get off on that tangent. But Patty had, a great idea last night. It was even an idea that I hadn't had. And what the idea was that you take it, and I've known that the schools have been segregationist. We've been segregationist with our school systems the way it is forever, for decades. Exactly. I know, bud. I don't know where the money goes, but they're keeping it. It's just like schools that have all this saved money, and where is that going? But Patty had a great idea, and one of the things that I have seen so many different times is, and we've seen it, I got to move to this area, or I have to move this area, or I have to move to this area in order to get a good education for my child. And I've said all along, why is that the case? Why are we reinventing education with every single district? We don't need to. You absolutely don't need to. Whatever it costs to educate a child here in Buffalo, it's probably going to cost about the same all over the place. There's going to be some concerns that are additional, special needs, but everything else across the board should be the same for the kids. But they want us to think that it's very complicated. They want us to think that it's just too big to change, and it's not. So Patty's idea was all of the school money, and this goes back to our local taxes. And again, Alma does it right. That's why so many people move out there. The taxes are about 1/3 to 1/2 of where they are everywhere else in this county. And what Patty's idea was, you take everybody's money, at a state level, you figure out what it costs to educate a child, you develop the educational system, and the research that I've done and all the talks that I've had with administrators and experts and people who are educated in this stuff and teachers, they go, Pete, it's simple. Education is simple. And these are the things that we should be doing, but nobody listens to us. The establishment is entrenched, and they're going to continue to do what they've been doing forever. So everything right now is extremely segregationist. Extremely segregationist with education. Guess what? You don't want your kid getting educated in the city of Buffalo, I bet it, do you? Nope. You don't want your kid getting educated at Burgard? Nope. You don't want your kid being educated at Cheektowaga Central? Nope. You don't want that. So where do you go? You're going to go to Williamsville. You're going to go to Clarence. You're going to go to Amherst. You're going to go to Lancaster. You're going to go to Alma. Or your child gets educated in Iroquois or East Aurora. That's what you're going to do, and that's what you do, so that you run away. But guess what? the same problems all still exist for all those kids, those thousands and thousands and thousands of kids inside those school districts that are suffering and struggling. And it's not fair. It's not fair that there aren't plans and administrators that have that vision. And these programs exist, guys. They are doing this around the country in different areas very successfully, where education is going very, very well. It has been so backwards for so long here in this county, our city, a lot of our areas, and this state. Like I said, number one forever, and now we're number 50. So the idea was, you take that money, you pool it together, it goes to the state. Now I know big government sucks and you want to try to keep, education at a local level. You have that opportunity with charters. You still can do that. And you still can do that with remote education opportunities that are out there. You can do that for your child. And you have the option to have, at-home schooling for your child, which there are a ton of great programs to do that and facilitate that with your child. But local school districts stealing, they put in a multi-million-dollar facility over in Cheektowaga Central. Multi-million-dollar athletic facility. Should have qualified that earlier. I looked, I was like, are you kidding me? For the handful of kids that play football for a few dates a year and a handful of people that play softball and run track, the residents had to pay millions and millions and millions. What? Why? Is it difficult to run, with the state having it and big government? We all know I'm against big government, and we want it at the local level to be able to have control and monitor that. We can still do that. You can still have those controls. You can still have a school board that's there making sure everybody is getting what they need to have at a local level. But the result is this. There's consistency in the pricing for education. Orchard Park has been like $22,000 per kid. And they claimed back in early 2000s or the 90s when they were ready to build a brand new school facility, Chuck Stoddard, the superintendent, had this vision forever and wanted to increase it. They used the fact that they said they were going to go to 6,000 students. They were at 5,000. They said they were going to go to 6,000 students. Never happened. As a matter of fact, they won't even report the number of students that they have. I'm sure it's dropped down to about 4,000 students now. But they wanted to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a brand new facility out there. That would you'd no longer be able to do that, because all these other options exist to educate our children. And it shouldn't be segregationist. And we shouldn't have to pay $4,000 and $5,000 for an elderly person who is barely making that on Medicare or Social Security to pay for these increases. STAR isn't covering it. Now you go, Pete, well, somebody has 4 or 3 or 2 kids, it takes a village to educate the family. You got to be responsible. Well, Pete, that's, socioeconomic status, and the rich people will be able to have all the kids and the young people. I hear all these arguments. There are ways around it. But what's not fair is having an $8,000 tax bill where other areas of the country and the state have $2,000 tax bills, and they do it for $2,000. The point is this. I just came up with solution for inspections offices gone. I just came up with solution for assessors offices gone. I just came up with solutions for fire departments, and that's me. I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time, and people have heard me talk and have these conversations, but I've developed these ideas, but nobody's talking about them. Why? Because we're all distracted and afraid. We're afraid of the small. We're afraid of that little teeny tiny guy, just like when we watch those cartoons. We're afraid of that little, he's got all that power, the big voice, but, the small tiny guy behind the curtain, if you want to use Oz, inside the brain, if you want to use any one of the science fiction movies that are out there. We're afraid of the small entity because of how they weaponize themselves against us with law enforcement and the fines. When we collect, we can make those changes that need to be made to keep our friends and our families here. to make sure people want to work on their homes, to make sure people want to invest in their homes and not be penalized. Think about what each one of these towns would look like if that were the case. You know, to actually pay for the services that we're using, as opposed to it being a socialist thing and you have a $500,000 home and you're getting the same exact services, but you're paying 5 times as much as the person who has a $100,000 home. Schools no longer being segregationist and everybody having equal opportunity. You know, the other thing that, you know, the property taxes are extremely segregationist is, where are you going to buy a house if you're poor? Good luck. The taxes are this high in Cheektowaga or Lancaster. I ain't moving out there. How am I going to afford that? So that's segregationist in and of itself. You want to say racism, bigoted, prejudice, whatever it is. That's, you know, that's a part of the system. That's been established. You know, you're going to have to buy a house or rent where it's cheap. You got to go on the west side. You got to go into Blaisdell or Lackawanna. And then you're not going to have a good education for your kids. So many of the schools are even gone. You know, how many of the city schools that we've seen close? So I went a long time here. There was a lot to share. Just really wanted to impress upon everybody that we can make these changes, guys. Let Black Lives Matter protesters be the catalyst and the inspiration for us to come together and make these changes, because they're proving that not only can these changes be made, but they're proving that police departments are afraid to do anything. They're proving that these agencies that are normally weaponized against us are afraid to do anything, and they're showing exactly how small they are. And I've said that. You know, normally, you know, one of the analogies that I use all the time is, what do you do with a train that's coming at you? You know, or running down the tracks. If you need to stop it, you know, well, hopefully you jump out of it, get at the engine and do that, but you take it apart. One part at a time. And that's how we take. You don't stand in front of it. You ain't going to stop it that way. You got to be smart with it. And this is how we take the system apart. Well, Pete, there's going to be people that hurt and people need help. I'm not saying deprive people of the services that are necessary and that they need. You know, my friend Lorena, she's from Venezuela. I've mentioned her a few times. You know, she fled. She's seeking asylum here. And she's going through a divorce. And she doesn't even have the help that she needs. She had to stay in a shelter, you know, last night. I would have her stay with me. It's not appropriate for me to do that, you know. And she understands that. If it comes down to it, I may absolutely do that and offer that up, but it's not appropriate at this time for me to do that. So I put that out there for her, and I'm putting that plea out today to everybody watching, that if you have space in your home. Her story is, she's 28. She's got 2 degrees down from Venezuela. She was married to a woman, and the woman got violent. The woman was from here. I believe she was from Rochester. Lorena's family came into the area. They're in New York City. She's not interested in going to New York City. This is her home now. She's going to school to be a nurse at this point. Fortunately for her, she had friends that were able to house her in an apartment for a month, but then that was it. Lorraine is very active in trying to get the help that she needs, but she's also going to school. She doesn't have a vehicle either. So she's going to nursing. She's supposed to graduate in November, but she needs a place to stay, guys. Just for a month. She's gone through every place, you know, the International Institute, every place. She's aware of them all, that everybody is filled up. And that gets back to the pandemic here. You know, I know people that work in crisis services, and I know people that work in social services, and they're inundated because of fraud and abuse, because the state has invited everybody from every other state to take advantage of the services that are available. And that's a whole other conversation for another day. But Lorena, who has been in this state now for several years, married, contributed, taxes, worked, she can't get any help. So if anybody knows If anybody knows anybody, or if you have a room available, she's a very good person, had a very good heart, very sweet person. She escaped Venezuela with her family. Her father's still down there, unfortunately, and I've talked about that. You guys know about that. But if anybody has anything, make a plea again here. I'm going to put it back on my Facebook post or Facebook page again. But love you guys. I know it was a long one today. Enjoy your day, and let's do something. Let's make a difference, guys. I'll talk to you later. Enjoy your Friday.